Am I the asshole for leaving my boyfriend stranded at a party for making a joke? I, 19 female, have been with my boyfriend, 25 male, for about 6 months. We don't live together, but I spend a lot of time at his place. A week ago, I was feeling quite sick and I didn't want to drive home, so I spent the night at his place. He woke me up at about 5 a.m. and to my great embarrassment, I had wet the bed. I helped him clean up the best that I could. I had a temp of about 103.8 and he took me to the hospital and they kept me overnight. A few days later, when I saw him again, I apologized for what happened. He then told me that it's all right and he got me a gift. He pulled out a package of adult diapers and then threw them at me. I said, I don't think that's really funny. I said I was embarrassed, but he thought it was hilarious. I decided to let it go and talk about it later. We went to a party that night, not really a party, just us and 6 other friends, about an hour away. I drove since he doesn't have a car. After he had a few beers, he started loudly telling them what happened, forgetting to mention that I was sick and had a high fever. He just told them the part about me wetting the bed and him buying the diapers. He encouraged my friends to joke about it, and after trying to explain but being talked over or laughed at, I just left and went home. He's quite upset that I left without him, but I didn't want to be stuck in the car with him. He's calling me sensitive. Am I the asshole for telling my friend to never come back to my house after he called my mom a Karen? My friends came over to my house for a movie. My mom had cancer and lost her hair, and she's been wearing a pixie cut wig until it grows back. My mom came downstairs to bring us popcorn, and when she went back upstairs, my friend laughed at my mom's Karen cut. He said it makes her look old and like a Karen mom. I got very mad and said that my mom had cancer and she's in remission and her hair is still growing back. Then he laughed and said, too bad, the only good Karen is a dead Karen. I called him a POS and told him to leave forever. My mom found out because I was crying, and then I had to explain what a Karen is and how it's a slur for middle-aged women. None of my friends are on my side and they're saying I'm a dramatic loser. Am I the asshole for demanding my girlfriend to pay to get the toilet fixed? I, 23, have been with my girlfriend, 21, for over a year and she moved in with me a couple months ago. I started having problems with the toilet ever since and I end up paying to get it fixed. I always tell her, please, can you not flush feminine hygiene products down? And she'll be like, yeah, no problem. Well, yesterday I got back to the apartment and found the toilet damaged as if someone flushed down something and it got stuck. I figure she flushed down her tampons, so I yell at her asking what the F did I say about flushing feminine hygiene products down. She acts confused and I point out that I was referring to her tampons, but then she goes, oh, I thought you meant plastic stuff, like an empty bottle. I then tell her she needs to pay to get it fixed this time because I was done paying for unnecessary expenses. She objects and says that she won't pay and that I was ridiculous to make this her responsibility. I then argue that she shouldn't have flushed down tampons and got the toilet stuck. So I tell her she has to pay for it. But she says since it's my place, I should automatically handle fixing anything in it. I tell her that her reaction is bull and that this is the result of her actions whether she knew it and wanted to admit it or not. She gives me some nasty looks and says I'm treating her bad. Then she calls me some mean names and walks out and stops speaking to me. I decided to leave the toilet as is until she pays to get it fixed. She says I'm being abusive, controlling, and petty. Am I the asshole for not wanting my husband's brother to be in the delivery room? I'm currently 31 weeks with twins, a boy and a girl. My husband and I are both 21 and we're trying for a baby for about a year before we got pregnant. I've had a pretty rough pregnancy and my brother-in-law is a medical student, so he's taken quite a lot of interest in my pregnancy and future delivery. We've gotten along well. He's 24 and I've known my husband's family since we were children, so we've pretty much grown up together. A few days ago, my husband told me that my brother-in-law had expressed an interest in being there whilst I gave birth, mainly because it would be beneficial from an education standpoint. Also, so my husband can have support as I'll have my mom. And there's no restriction on how many people can be in the room. I said absolutely not. There's no way in hell that I'm allowing that. I'm not even overly keen on allowing my husband to watch me go through that, let alone his brother. He said it'd be a good experience for him and his degree, and I said that as much as I supported him, my experience of having a pleasant birth was my priority. He got defensive and said that he should be allowed to have a support person too, which I suppose I do understand, but I just feel really comfortable about it all. He said that it was just as much his right as mine to have someone there to support him. It basically turned into a huge argument with his brother and mom being dragged into it as well. Am I the asshole for saying no to him being in the delivery room?
Some old dude grabbed me at the mall. Like, I have never felt more violated in my life. So yesterday was Black Friday, and that obviously means I was gonna go to the mall. And every time I go to the mall, I encounter the strangest, creepiest old men. But oh my god, it was 10 times worse yesterday. So me and my boyfriend got to the mall at literally 7 in the morning, right when they open. For the first part of the shopping spree, we're together the whole time, going to every store together. So I didn't have anything scary happen to me because I have a man with me. And for some reason, creepy men only respect you when there's another man with you. So like, okay. Well, after like an hour of being together for the most part, we decided to split off so that we could get each other Christmas gifts and stuff. Because I obviously wouldn't want my boyfriend to be with me while I'm getting his gift. So we split off. I go to one side of the mall, he goes to the other side of the mall. And our plan was that once we get all of the gifts we want to get for each other, we go to the car, put the gifts in the car, and then meet at Forever 21 in the mall, which is a store in the mall. So I'm walking over to Zoomies to get my boyfriend a fun little t-shirt. I feel somebody tap on my shoulder. And I'm like, weird. Maybe it's my boyfriend. I turn around, and it's this old man, gray hair, was balding, and looked like a literal creep. He tapped me on the shoulder. So I'm like, yes. And I kid you, this man looks me in the eye and goes, "Are you at the mall alone?" Why is that a question you're asking me? Why is that coming out of your mouth right now? I look at him and I'm like, no, I'm here with my boyfriend. And when I say that, he looks around and he tries to grab my waist. This man tried to grab my waist, my side, tried to touch me. So once that happens, I just walk away. I'm like, that's weird. That's really, really, really scary. I feel very violated. I'm just gonna walk away. So I get into Zoomy and I'm thinking about telling security about the dude because I didn't want him doing this to anybody else because I felt, I cannot explain to you how violated I felt. Like this dude really was just trying to grab my waist. He literally just grabbed my waist. So I'm in the men's sections at Zoomy, getting my boyfriend his gift. I get all the gifts that I want to get him, and I get in line at Zoomy. I look behind me, and that scary man is sitting by the entrance of the Zoomy, waiting for me to get out. At that point, I'm like, no, I'm done. Because if he's already willing to grab my waist, what else does he want? So once it's my turn in line, I tell the Zoomy's employee, I'm like, yo, this dude has been following me around the store. He grabbed my waist, he touched me. So the Zoomy's guy is like scanning my items really slowly. He ended up calling security to come down here and kick out the dude from the mall. So he's scanning my items really like slowly so that the dude doesn't get like sussed out and leave because we wanted security to catch it. And in like 2 seconds, security comes, starts talking to him. I couldn't hear what they were saying to him because the music was really loud in Zoom. If you go to Zoomies, you know what I'm talking about. The music is always so loud. And then they grab him and they take him out. I did not see him for the rest of the day. When I met up with my boyfriend after this, my boyfriend he wanted to find that dude and have some conversation, but we didn't see him ever again. Did not show up back at the mall. Security kicked him out. It was I feel so violated for somebody to think that they can touch me like that. But I'm happy that I stopped him from doing it to anybody else. And I'm proud of myself for having the courage to tell security because it's scary to do that. It literally is scary. But haha, you.
Storytime about the most outrageous thing I saw working as a waitress. A guy came in with his date one night and throughout the evening, he was the picture of courtesy and good manners. I appreciated it, but didn't delude myself that I was a source and figured he was just in a good mood because the date was going well. He was certainly in a celebratory mood because he was sparing no expense. He asked for our highest quality wine, she got our most expensive entree, and he even ordered one of every appetizer for her to sample when she made a remark that she was having trouble deciding. It was a real feast. So the evening starts wrapping up and I get their check. I asked if they'd be paying together or separate and she starts to say separate, but he makes a big deal of saying, "Oh, are you kidding me? Together, definitely together. You never have to pay when you're with me, babe." Then he slides me his card. I get everything sorted and bring out the receipt. It's almost a $300 bill. He doesn't even blink and makes a big show of leaving a $100 tip. He thanks me for my service and emphasizes what a lovely night they've had. A tip that size is exceptional, so I thanked him profusely. He said there's no need and goes on to say how underappreciated waitstaff are and says, "Don't plan to tip, don't eat out, you know?" Looking at the mesmerized girl the whole time and not giving me a glance. After that, he helps her into her coat and they go off. However, not even a few minutes later, he comes back and what he says leaves me speechless. Part 2 of the most outrageous thing I saw while working as a waitress. So about 90 seconds later, he's back in the door without her, going, "I think I left my..." Then when the door shut and looking to make sure she was out of earshot, he goes, without the slightest shade of shame or embarrassment, "Mark the tip down to $20, hun. I was just playing it up for my date. You understand." Then turns to leave. I understood, but not how he hoped I would. However, I couldn't make a scene in the middle of work. That's not my place, so I just said one more time in order to give his conscience a chance to sink in. "Okay, sir, you'd like to amend your tip from $100 to $20, is that correct?" Even though I didn't show any displeasure in my voice, he shot back extremely hostile, "Yes, and if I see a cent over 20 on there, I'm going to dispute the whole meal with my credit vendor, so don't try to pull anything." The most frustrating part of this for me was not even going from over a 30% tip to a 10% tip, but rather that this poor girl was being strung along with no idea of who this guy was behind her back. It was extremely manipulative of him, which is a major red flag. I really wanted to show that girl the trick he just pulled, but I was at work and it wasn't my place. However, just in time, something occurred to me and I darted outside hoping to catch him in the parking lot. This is why best friends can be abusive too. I had moved to England with my ex around 3 to 4 years ago. We had broken up but remained good friends and just rented a house together. We weren't hostile and learned that we were better as friends than in a relationship. I started going out to local bars and shops to make friends because I didn't know anyone there. This is when I met a guy named Craig who quickly became my best friend. He was a little odd, had family in the area and his own flat. Shortly after meeting Craig, my ex moved back in with his family and I couldn't afford to make rent on my own. This is when Craig and I decided to rent a house together. We weren't romantically or sexually involved, we were strictly just friends. He was the type of guy who always had a few girls in tow, so he'd never be without a love interest. I started seeing a guy named Jay who would stay over a few times throughout the week, eventually becoming my boyfriend. Craig quickly made it known that he hated it. We would argue about him and I made it known to him that we were only friends, so he needed to stay out of my dating life. One night, Craig pounced on me in my room, getting on top. He put his knees on my arms and started to strangle me. He was saying things like, "Where is he now?" And I honestly thought I was about to die. As I felt his grip tighten, I thought of my mom who was only 4 to 5 hours away. I thought of how she'd never know what happened to me or how she'd have to identify the body of her only child. Part 2, why best friends can be abusive too. By some miracle, I kicked Craig off of me and ran for my life. He had double locked the front door, hid in my bag, and smashed my iPhone. I was running down the stairs with him yelling right behind me that he was going to kill me. I knew the back door was open from him having a smoke earlier. I ran for it and made it to the street. I was barefoot, in shorts, and a pajama top. I ran for what felt like ever towards the town. 30 minutes later, I used the payphone and called the police. They picked me up and I told them the story. They took me to the station and took photos of my neck that had bruising along with my head that was bleeding from when he smashed me into the kitchen wall earlier. I sat in the patrol car as I went inside of my house to pick him up. They found him in the streets looking for me. They arrested him and put him in a cell overnight while dropping me off to gather my things. I was terrified he'd be released and come back at any moment, so I grabbed just a few of my things in a rush. I didn't have my phone or any money. I drove to a patrol station, bleeding from my head with no shoes and bruised up. I broke down using their phone to call my mom. She was annoyed that I had woken her up at first, but once I explained what happened, she sent me $200 to fill up my tank and get something to drink to calm down. Then I drove to my parents' house. Craig got out in the morning and it was his word against mine. I blocked him on everything and changed my number, cutting off all contact. I sometimes still get flashbacks of that night.
It's in the morning that you find some peace. It's in the small mistakes that you find your way to live. It's in the morning breeze that you find some peace. It's in the small mistakes that you find your way. It's in the morning. Imagine we get lost in love, nowhere to go when you fall out of touch. Maybe I just don't know enough of this language you call love. I'll leave it to my head to think, 'cause right now I'm in between. And lately I've been scared to blink, 'cause I've been losing too much time to sink. And all these voices in my head, like hello, are you there? Why do I feel alone again, on a trip to nowhere? And my past.
Thank you for watching. I love you guys so much. Please like and subscribe to see more great videos. See you again.